All right, everybody. We're just doing this live. There's no intro to this. You guys know what's going on. This is the most emergency podcast of emergency podcasts that isn't directly affecting the Celtics, but in my I've been up for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm still trying to figure out what's happening here. It's Will Weir, it's Greg Menakis. You know what we're about to talk about. Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis have been traded for each other. Luka to the Lakers, AD to the Mavs, and apparently everyone, including LeBron, which is I think this might be one of the biggest things that shocks me, is that LeBron is stunned. And despite the fact that, Greg, we're going to get into how I'm still trying to assess all the different angles of this. The one thing I've woken up with is I got to give the Lakers at least a little bit more credit that I thought they wouldn't have the balls to do anything that
Yeah.
LeBron wouldn't, especially of this magnitude, that LeBron wouldn't have to and maybe even get VP Bronny James to go ahead and sign off on. So I got to give them some credit there, but I'm still assessing everything that's going on. I woke up to 27 text messages from you in 3 different group chats of where this was all popping off. So you had a little bit more time to sit with this. So jump in here and tell me where you're at right now, because this is astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, I was up at 5 a.m. with the baby, and I got a text. I think it was from Steve Yee. So shout out to our guy Steve Yee from Wood Island Media, who is just like, "What is happening right now?" I got a text from Alex, the intern. Shout out to Alex. And then then Teddy Barry, our guy Teddy Barry,
Yeah.
texted me as well. And then from there, I was up early, but I've gotten hundreds of text messages from people. Everyone just trying to figure out what the heck the Lakers were what the heck the Mavs were thinking in this. Like, from the Lakers point of view, it makes sense in that now you have your bridge to the future. LeBron James has been talking since him and AD got paired up together that he wanted to pass the torch to AD, and it just never seemed like AD got to the point where LeBron was like, he's good enough for me to pass this torch, as much as they wanted to be able to. As my phone continues to blow up, let me just turn my notifications down.
So real quick, let me actually jump in.
Yeah.
Because one point on so I totally agree with you. And we're gonna get into the Mavs side of this, because that's the more confusing part in all this. The from the Lakers side of it, totally agree. You trade, what is AD 32 and Luka's 25. Yeah. Like Luka's. I mean, we just went into this. By the way, you're totally justified that the Mavs they were like, we can't win without better defense. So I think you are justified that they would have probably made that trade, Luka for Tatum, which you mentioned an episode or two ago. But from a Lakers perspective, the only part to me that is strange about this trade, I think they're less of a contender for this year. And you're looking at LeBron and his age and I actually think there's a real question mark with how surprised LeBron is. Do we see LeBron move the next 4? This is the first time I ever think there might be a real possibility of him moving, although he probably really wants to play with Luka and they're going to give it a shot. And I'm sure it'll be fun. But I think But I think if you were giving them, because I think they're the 5 seed this morning, if you were giving them a small outside chance of making a run, there's no, you're gonna need defense at some point, and LeBron can't do what LeBron used to do, and so replacing AD for Luka in the long term, 100% sign off, send me the checks. Like, that's an easy call for this season, maybe next season, depending on what they can do in the offseason, because they still somehow kept a few assets here to give them flexibility to do stuff next year, which is the other part of the Mavericks piece that we'll talk about. But I do think this year, I think the Lakers have taken themselves down a slight peg as far as outside chance of making a run to the NBA Finals.
I mean, what was their percentage chance? Like,
right, it wasn't that
they were
great.
going to make it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. You make the move, but I do think it in the LeBron world of I may only have a year or 2 left to make a run.
Right. So
this 1 year.
Let's talk about that, though, because I think when you thought about the league in terms of the things that were consistent and you didn't think were going to change, you didn't think Luka Doncic was going to move on from the Mavs. They were just in the NBA Finals last year, and they made all these improvements to fix that team.
Dude, the Western Conference Finals of last year, hey guys, let's just blow everything up. If you're the Timberwolves, let's get rid of Karl Anthony Towns and all the great chemistry that we had. Mavericks, let's trade Luka Doncic. Like, it's insane.
And then when you think about the Lakers, LeBron and AD, that was about as consistent and as reliable over the last 5 years as anything. Like LeBron's stranglehold and Clutch's stranglehold over the Lakers organization. They were going to do whatever they could to maximize, to your point, LeBron James's last remaining years in the NBA. And if you watched the Lakers and Knicks last night, did you have a chance to catch that game, Will?
I did not. I was gonna wake up this morning and watch the condensed game, but I haven't. I've been too busy scrolling through all of this stuff that I completely forgot about that game. So no, I haven't had a
Right,
chance
and
to
it
look
was it
at
was
that.
a it was a great game to watch. LeBron was unbelievable in that game. He looked like LeBron James from 10 years ago. He had a 30-point triple double. Christie, who got traded to the Mavs,
Mhm.
actually really good. He played some pretty solid defense against Brunson. Dorian Finney-Smith, ever since he's come to the Lakers, it was kind of like that last piece that the Lakers needed to like complete the vision that LeBron James always wants with shooters and defenders all around him.
Mhm.
Austin Reeves was looking good. So, like, to your point about the Lakers this year actually taking themselves back a step, it just all comes down to the defensive side of the basketball because AD was that anchor with Finney Smith there. Now you're like, oh, that's a pretty solid two guys to start my closing lineup with. And LeBron,
Right.
for any 2-minute stretch, he can be one of the best defenders in the league still. And they got Vanderbilt back. So like their closing lineup defensively could have been special. And now you move on to Luka, who, as we saw, and as Nico Harrison said, the main reason why the Mavs made this deal was because Luka was fat, out of shape, and didn't play any defense. Like that's basically what it boiled down to. And they traded Luka Doncic for pennies on the dollar, man. Like what the heck are they
It
thinking?
had to be a mess. It had to be such a mess that we just don't know
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah,
There's no way. And I saw it might have been Simmons. I can't remember. Someone was like, remember last year after they won the Western Conference Finals, he has the beer, and I think it's Michael Finley, who's part of the front office, comes
right.
by and grabs it. It's like, oh, okay, like this was a funny moment. Now it's like this is probably like an inherent problem. I'm not nothing.
Right.
It's a drinking problem, but just like the being in shape part of it, where they're like, dude, take it fucking seriously, please. And it like in the fact that he's been out for the last couple of weeks because he's been injured, like that's the other part of this. The timing of this is just so strange. And I know I guess like his supermax deal is coming up this offseason. So maybe they're just trying to get ahead of getting into that territory. I
Which
don't
he's no longer eligible for. He can't sign it with the Lakers now.
right. Man, there's just so many pieces. So real quick for those of you that are listening / watching, let me just lay out real quick the entire trade here that we are waking up to this morning. So for the Lakers, they get Luka Doncic, they get Maxi Kleber, and they get Markieff Morris. For the Mavericks, they get AD, Max Christie, in a 2029 Los Angeles Lakers first. And then for salary purposes, over to the Jazz, Jalen Hood-Schifino, who was a first-round pick just last year. They get a Clippers second-round pick and a Mavericks second-round pick in 2025. So, yeah, Greg, let's talk about the Mavericks because they're coming to Boston on Thursday. So we're going to see AD, Kyrie, who have been wanting to play together for a long time. There's always been these connections between them. And honestly, LeBron's always been in that mix as well, too. But, it's going to be this is the other part that I thought about, Greg. The Mavericks just chose Kyrie over Luka. Like that is a part of this, right? Like they were like,
Yeah.
hey, we've had two pretty consistent years from Kyrie. He's been good. Let's go get Kyrie support is what this trade is telling me is that, hey, let's go get this supporting cast that we just saw them play the Celtics in Dallas with that clearly is, and Lively's been hurt as well too. And you give now when he's back, you give, or even with Gafford, you give AD, he loves playing the 4. He doesn't love playing the 5. You give him another 5 or 2 5s that he can play with, and you're going to roll with the KD, AD, Clay, PJ, yeah, that's what you're going with. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
like not a lot of offense there to go along. Like obviously Kyrie is a great offensive player, but in terms of
yeah.
like being the guy to carry your offense through a 7-game series, Kyrie is not that guy. And a Kyrie and AD pairing is not that pairing because a LeBron and AD pairing wasn't even enough to be enough of an offensive punch, right? So like I just don't really think it makes any sense. And text from our guy Matt Liptak, who's a big Knicks fan, so he just texted us in our Stay Out the Kitchen chat. Just for the audience here, he says, "What the hell? I just watched the Lakers play excellent ball without AD last night and dominate the Knicks start to finish. I honestly can't even imagine what Dallas is thinking here. How is that all they got? I don't understand how the deal doesn't include Reeves and like 10 more picks."
So this is the Mavericks point. And, someone else, I think our friend Mark texted us that apparently there's a report of another team did turn down Luka. I haven't seen that yet, but he did mention that. So I'll see if I can have him send me that tweet or I can pull
Really?
it up.
Okay.
He mentioned that in one of the chats. I don't know where that came from. I didn't see that. That was just something that he had mentioned in one of our chats. I haven't had a chance to find it as right as we were coming on here. But this is the point. The Mavericks didn't get anywhere close to enough. If you're going to trade Luka, as I mentioned, we started some of this discussion based off and it's so funny that Bill Simmons just did that his whole trade rank list, which is all trades that never happen. This is
Right.
literally a trade that is this is the picture perfect trade of why he does that list every year that gets a bunch of clicks and a bunch of listens. And it actually happened. It never does.
Yeah.
And it actually happened. It's so crazy how that timing works out. And you mentioned, like, as we started a conversation off of that like I wouldn't trade Tatum for Luka. They might do it, and this is literally kind of the point. Is I think if you're going to trade Luka Doncic, there's five guys in the league that I wouldn't trade for Luka. It's Wemby because he's Wemby. You can't trade him. It's Jokic, it's Giannis, it's SGA, and it's Tatum. I think those are the only five guys that I wouldn't put together some type of crazy package to go get Luka. And if you're gonna move Luka and you have a couple days here, like if you just when did the Mavericks decide this? I need to know when they decided to do this, because you put out an all points bulletin, say, hey, we're trading Luka in 4 days. Give me your best offer. Dude, I can't imagine
At the
what they
very
come back
least,
with.
it makes the Lakers give up more. Even if
The
it's the
Lakers still
same
kept a first round pick. The Lakers
Yeah.
still kept Austin Reeves, who's on one of the best deals in the entire NBA and
It's
is
malpractice.
23, 24 years old. Like, how do you not get more or make them bring in a third team to give you more? Like, you
Right.
got a
And if you think about
32-year-old injury prone center. That's what you got. Like he's awesome when he's healthy. He's 32 and you traded up 7 years with more injuries.
Yeah,
Insane.
I mean, more injuries, who knows? Because, we had Kirk Henderson on from the Mavs pod the other day, and he was talking about how Luka has injured that calf 3 different times
Yeah.
and how he's just like never in shape. And, with calf injuries and those soft tissue injuries, a lot of times it has to do with like the shape that you're in. And if you're going to continue to re-injure that calf, oftentimes that can lead to muscle imbalances, that could lead to a torn Achilles. So who knows there? But Will, I'm going to look up just real quick if you can just like maybe field some questions from the chat, whatever, because I have one deal that I just popped into my head, because the 2 destinations Luka Doncic has always said that if he left the Mavs, he would go to either the Lakers or the Heat, right?
Mhm.
So just from the Heat perspective, if Nico Harrison's idea of we need defense and Luka isn't providing us that defense, like
Yeah.
they probably can make a Bam Adebayo Jimmy Butler deal happen. Right? Jimmy Butler and Bam adding to that team, I feel like, is better than just getting AD, wouldn't you say?
I mean, 100%. I mean, even if you can, the part that jumps out to me, right? Like you want more defense, fine, totally get that. If you open this up league wide, there's going to be plenty of options, and just when you're trading that 7-year window, like that's such a long window to trade out of. You got to get reinforcements of some type of combination of young prospects and or multiple picks. Like they just hemorrhaged so much of their timeline to make a move that, as we're discussing and going through their roster, I guess you can classify it as win now because your defense is going to be better, but I don't know. Like if you're the Mavericks, a healthy Luka versus versus a healthy AD, like I don't know, man. I just don't see how you can sacrifice that much of a window without getting assurances that, hey, if this window doesn't work out, because I don't think they're in at best they're in probably a neutral spot of where they are in championship contender window for this season and or let's just call it next season. It's hard to look in the NBA beyond 2 to 3 season window. So let's just say for this year and next year, they're about neutral at best as to where they are. But then when you look long term, it's you were always going to continue to have Luka as your main tent pole to kind of build around and build off, right? And he's
Yeah.
25. And so you're going to have that for several years, even if you have to change what this iteration looks like. Now, if this iteration fails or doesn't work out, doesn't get you back to the NBA Finals, like you were just in the goddamn NBA Finals. Like you were just in the NBA Finals. Like now you're kind of screwed, and you didn't equip yourself with enough. Max Christie and one pick from the Lakers is not going to be enough to revamp this roster, right? Like if you need to go do something, you're that unless that pick falls into, it's 2029. I don't know, unless there happens to be a Cooper flag. I don't know what the fuck draft class 2029 looks like, obviously, but like unless there's somebody like that you luck yourself into, and it, and that's a lot of luck that you would have to fall into at that point. And on top of that, the reason those Lakers picks were so valuable, Greg, is because LeBron and AD are aging. You just gave them Luka. You just gave them a 25-year-old that is going to likely prevent them from being worse than at least a playoff team until, through all that time frame. So that pick isn't even nearly as valuable as it was. The moment you took that pick and you sent out Luka, that pick lost so much value. Right. So I don't know, man. It's really tough to wrap my head around. Have you pulled up this trade, or have you gotten to an area that maybe there was a heat window that could have been explored?
Well, Jimmy Butler makes 49, Bam makes 35.
Yeah, so that was the one thing I was thinking
of.
That's
$92 million they would have needed to come up with. So like Luka makes 43, Clay and Gafford together make 28. You can throw in Kleber. That's another, it's like 39. So you're roughly there with Luka, Clay, Gafford, Kleber, and Marshall. But also, I don't know about all the cap stuff that's made it.
Yeah,
the cap stuff is just made all this stuff impossible to figure out. But I feel like they could have gotten there and then been left with a Kyrie, PJ, Butler, Bam, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes. Like, is that enough? I don't know. I don't know if that's enough either.
That's the point. What would have been enough? Like, this clearly wasn't enough, but what would have been enough? Like, there's teams out there that have been stockpiling draft picks, right? Like, there's a team, and it probably isn't going to be the Thunder, but like, listen, I know the Rockets love what they got going on, and Luka does not fit their defensive mindset, but to tell me that they wouldn't have been like, okay, here's Fred VanVleet. I love Amen Thompson. I'd probably trade Amen Thompson for Luka Doncic. I would probably
100%.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I would take Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, give them every pick you have, and be like, give us Luka. We still have a really good core of defensive and offensive players around us. Like that's a more long-term appealing deal. And it's defensive minded. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like there's other teams that I just can't believe that they would pull this trigger and not have pulled what else is out there. I mean, the Spurs aren't trading Wemby, but they'll give you everything else and any pick they have, like to pair Luka and Wemby, and Wemby, right? Like that's another option that would have been out there that gives you players today and gives you flexibility long term. Like
let me just jump in real quick. So I'm just like thinking about other players that are, roughly on the AD timeline and also talent tier. Like if I'm trying to just like improve my team and I'm the Mavs and I'm just trying to make the best team possible for this year and next, because that's basically what they're doing, right? Like they gave themselves a 2-year window versus an 8-year window with Luka, right? So like
that's by the way, that's so insane to say out loud. Like that just is such a crazy move to say out loud.
Oh my God. It makes no sense. But if you traded, let's say with the Suns, Luka Doncic for Kevin Durant and picks or whatever. Like, I feel like I kind of like that Mavs team better with KD than I do with AD. Like KD still provides you with like a little bit of defense. He gives you a little bit of length. I kind of like that team better than I do the one.
Devin Booker and Luka don't get along, so that would be fantastic as well, just to see how that dynamic.
Well, I mean, even Luka for D Book, like, is that a possibility? Like, could we have done Luka for D Book? Like, I know that doesn't solve the Mavs defensive issues, but Booker is a willing defender.
He's a willing defender. Yeah, like that's that's the baffling part. Is I just can't believe that's what they got back. And AD talent wise, like that's he's a few steps below Luka on it, the trade rank list or however we want to do it. And so that's about as close as you can get to equal wise. But then when you factor in the age and just not getting anything else of the younger assets, that's where it just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, the asset thing, like Danielle, who knows nothing about basketball, was like, this seems like a bad trade for the Mavs, right? Like, why are they
Yeah.
trading the young guy for the old guy? It's and like, so did they get like a bunch of other young guys to go along with this? And I was like, no, they basically did a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, this is
Anthony
essentially what
Davis for
this is.
Luka Doncic. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's essentially what it is.
it's the
And they didn't
most
get Reeves.
confusing.
How do you not get Reeves in that deal?
Right. That's probably the biggest thing is like at least then you have something to tie your future to, right? Like right now, I guess if this all falls apart, and I really like Derek Lively. You're rebuilding around Derek Lively. I like Derek Lively. I don't like the idea of rebuilding around Derek Lively. Like that's a stretch too far to really have to try to wrap my head around here. And yeah, man, it is. And like I said, I don't think this is. I think this is going to start to have other shockwaves to it. You know, like I
Oh
said,
yeah, this is dude, the fact that this trade happened, I feel like it has opened up all of Doctor Strange's infinite possibilities.
yeah, like I said, this is the first time, and maybe LeBron is just like after he gets over being stunned, is like, okay, this is gonna be cool. I'll play with Luka, but you know, LeBron's talked pretty openly this year about like maybe this is my last year, maybe next year. He's like he's been very frank that this year or next year, like there's not a long window anymore. Luka's currently hurt. He's not even. It's not even that like it. Like I think their window's a little bit less. Luka's hurt. I don't even know
Mhm.
when officially he's supposed to come back. So I really do think for the first time, even if LeBron really wants to play with Luka, because he's hurt and knows he has to work himself then back in, you got to figure all this out on the fly and like, what does this look like? That's a long shot. If this might be your last run, or this might be one of your two last runs, like I really think this is the first time I've ever really been open to the idea that LeBron might say, you know what, I want to try to win a championship before I go out. Let's see who wants to trade for me. And
Right.
that's fascinating to think about what that potentially could
Could
look
the
like. And
Cavs have done like Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell for Luka?
I
You know
mean,
what I
once again,
mean? Like,
I'd have to dig into the
but
trade
just
machine on
like,
that, but
yeah, I feel
and
like
it's
they
tough to
could
go
have.
back because the trade machine's already like updated. So it's like you're
Right.
trying to figure out like what would work or what wouldn't work. But I mean, it feels like there has to be. I mean, shit. Let's look at the Knicks, right? Like, would the Knicks have done? You want defense? Why don't I mean? This would be a big swing in the opposite direction for the Knicks, but what could we give you? OG McHale and a bunch of picks. I don't know that once again, I don't think that's enough. But what at this point, given what they got back, we can question anything. We can throw anything out
Right.
there and kind of wonder if, hey, that and 3 picks, like, do you then have Cat, Jalen Brunson, and Luca, and then just be like, yeah, we'll figure it out from here. Like, I don't know, man. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think like other teams and the best option. Like throw the second apron stuff out of the
Right.
conversation for now.
You can make it a
Just like
3-team,
value.
4-team, 5-team
Yeah,
trade, try
yeah,
to get
yeah,
around
yeah.
it, like whatever.
So like what are the other teams like best options? Or if you wanted to play this, like what is an equivalent trade from the Celtics perspectives, as this is a Celtics podcast? Like what is an
Yeah.
equivalent trade from the Celtics? Is it like I guess Tatum for KD would be something similar?
So we're going reverse in
Like trade
age. Like we're trying to trade down in age, but like in because doesn't really improve your window. So uh yeah,
or
okay. So I like this
Jalen for
exercise.
DeMar DeRozan? Like, I don't even know what like, what is this deal
I mean, I
from
think
this
this, yeah, I think to your point, this would be a Tatum for LeBron or KD. Like, I think that's probably
right?
the equivalent of what this would be. I'm trying to think of anyone else that would, and it would kind of be just like, hey, all right, we're gonna trade Tatum for LeBron. LeBron's only got 2 years probably left, and we think we can get more out of him in those 2 years. And then after those 2 years, instead of paying Tatum for the next 4 years or whatever as his contract kicks in, we get a fresh start on the books, right?
Right.
Like I think that's around that approximation would be what this is, and that's an
But now
insane
just
move.
think about how mad you would be as a Celtics fan if the Celtics did something like that. Like, Mavs fans must be losing their goddamn minds right now
Well, here's
that
the thing.
they
It's
made
funny.
this deal.
I was just checking our mentions here. I'm like kind of scrolling through Twitter to see like what else pops up, and our guy FAO Zifo was like he seems destroyed about this trade, and he's a Lakers fan. So I think there's also sides of this that both sides might be like because like I said, I think I'm very curious to know what we hear about LeBron.
I mean, the Lakers just got 8 years of relevance out of this
No,
trade.
I agree. I think long
Yeah.
term, there's no doubt. But I'm just very curious. Like, I mean, a lot of the Lakers stands are also LeBron stands, right? So there's like
Right,
that
right.
crossover, and I don't know what it means for that. So it's, oh man, it was. Hold on, I got a quote here. Let me pull this up here. It's like
Okay.
this is from Nico Harris. I'm just going to read this out loud because I think it's going to be interesting, but I haven't read it all, so it might not be interesting. So I'm just going to do it here. But this is from Nico Harris, and I'm reading a Kevin O'Connor tweet. We really feel like we got ahead of what was going to be a tumultuous summer. Him being eligible for the Supermax, and also a year away from him being able to opt out of any contract. And so we really felt like we got out in front of that. We know teams, they've had it out there. Teams have been loading up to try and sign him once that comes available. Facts. There's been many rumors of like the Heat and others that are loading up opportunities to sign him. Maybe go peruse the trade market a little bit, my guy. Like that's all. I don't disagree with anything he said in there, but if you're gonna do it, dude, get like
So
Rudy Gobert got more. Rudy Gobert got more in return than what they got.
yeah, I mean, how
Yes
many
and no,
picks
but
is AD worth though? Like, AD's probably worth 5 picks on his own. You know what I mean? So like
at
they
32, I
could.
don't know, man.
He's way better than Rudy
He's
Gobert.
way
You
better,
know?
but he's 32. Like this, I mean, this is
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert 2 years ago. A little bit like I mean, I don't know. That's just you got
I mean, AD.
one
Okay.
pick.
Let's continue to think from the Mavs perspective, just to like try and figure out what the hell, like why they made this deal. So let's imagine they do shop Luka. Okay.
Mhm.
Luka's team then probably says, "Oh, you're shopping us? Well, these are the only 2 teams that we would actually sign with long term." Right. So then you kind of throw out everybody that's bidding because Luka can just make the argument, I'm not going to sign. And then what's the point of you
Right.
trading your future for Luka, who's going to be gone in a couple of years? Right. So
That's
I
fair.
think that's the argument. So then it comes down to the Heat versus the Lakers, and there's a bidding war between the Heat and the Lakers. Okay. Secondly, from the Mavs point of view, who do they need to get through in the Western Conference? It's the Thunder, right? That's the team, and Jokic. I guess you got to
Yeah.
get through Jokic as well. They
Yeah.
didn't have to go through Jokic, but say somebody else takes out the Thunder, they have to get through Jokic. Does their current team with Luka have enough to get through a Jokic-led Nuggets team? Maybe not. Maybe they feel like they need a little bit more, but AD's gotten cooked by Jokic over the years. But
Yeah.
they match up really well with the Thunder, and they're the one team that already like kind of whooped the Thunder's ass. Counterpoint, AD is kind of the perfect guy to play against the Thunder, right? Where like the Thunder really struggle with size. So like I
And you
can
know,
see.
we did mention on that episode with Kirk Henderson, like a couple of those games have been without Luka, right? Like I know
Yeah.
the series last year in the playoffs was obviously with Luka, but maybe that's part of to your thought process here that they're like, listen, the team that we know, above all right now and into the future, we need to beat is OKC. That's the team we're looking at, and we've already done it a couple times. Granted, it's regular season, and they don't have their big guys, but we still beat them without Luka. Give them their big guys back. We need big guys that will, kind of go in there and mess with them. And now you've got it's the best. It's the best. They do have the best, probably front when healthy, the best front court in the NBA with the rotation of AD, Gafford, and Lively. When all three of them are available, like the fact that you have at least one of those guys on the court at all times, like
And
that's
PJ's
really
big
good for you.
dude.
Right, and PJ's big too, right? Like so that's probably the best front court collection in the NBA right now.
And I love
So,
Najee on the wing. Like I can see how the Mavs talked themselves into this. I can see them like just like trying to imagine all the infinite possibilities to bring back Doctor Strange again. And they felt like this is at the end of the day, this is probably like without dragging the franchise into 2 weeks of tumult, they just decide, you know what, this is pretty good. Let's not try and get greedy here. Let's just like we love AD. We love the 29 pick. Max Christie's a got a decent future ahead of him. Let's roll with this and like just move on. Luka's fat, he's out of shape, he's hurt. Good riddance. It's crazy. I wouldn't do that, but I can see how maybe they talk themselves into it.
Dude, this is it's so funny. Last night I was getting ready to go to bed, and I'm scrolling through like NBA.com on my phone. I'm just like, let me see if there's any games on right now. Maybe I just want to like, while I'm in bed, like I'll peep and take a look. Only game on was like Suns Blazers that was like still going on while I was getting ready to go to sleep. And I was like, I don't know if it's really worth it to stay up and watch Suns Blazers. And then I've seen so many different reactions of players in game finding out about this trade. And I'm like, now I'm like, damn, I should have stayed up 15 more minutes, checked in on this game. And I would have seen this trade.
You
go
see
down last night.
the Trailblazers when they all found out.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. I just saw one of like Devin Booker's on the bench finding out about it. I saw KD was interviewed like right after the game and was just stunned. This is massive. This is wild. I think, as we look ahead to this week here from a Celtics perspective, trade deadline is on Thursday, February 6th. So you're gonna hear from us this week. That's what I can tell you.
Well, another fake trade, just to throw it out there. I know we got to move on. We got a donut birthday party to get to today.
And we're gonna be recording later today as well. We got Celtics Sixers. We're gonna hit you guys. This is an emergency.
Oh, we are gonna record. I was gonna say, are we still gonna record later? But
I think we still gotta talk a little Celtics. This was just too big not to do something.
Okay, Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. for Luka Doncic. Like, I feel like from the Mavs point of view, that's better. I don't know if the Grizzlies would do that.
I mean, right. This gets back to your other question of like, would the Grizzlies do that? Being that Luke, if Luka's going to be like, I'm out of here in a year and a half.
That's Luka's not
which is a great point by you
long term.
But in a vacuum, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, and let's just call it 3 picks. It could be more.
Right.
Like should be more. like let's just call it that. Then I would take that over AD in 1 pick. That is like, this is the part that I can't stress enough. That 1 pick, which has been so valued across the league, is exponentially devalued by the fact that you sent a 25-year-old out. That you sent
take the 2031 pick over the 29.
Like, right. Like even that one would be more valuable at this point because 2000. Like it's
really get them both.
Right, that's the real answer. Get all. They should have gotten every single first round pick and second round pick the Lakers have as part of this deal. Like that should have been what they did.
This is so fun though. This is fun,
dude. I think it's gonna be like I said. I think the top's off. You said Doctor Strange, all the multiverse of madness. Anything's on the table. I think it's gonna get real weird this week. So I'm excited for it. This was an emergency pod. So if you guys get a chance to listen to this, I hope you enjoyed our, us thinking through everything that's happening here. Celtics play the Sixers tonight. We'll record live after that game. We'll have stat of the week. We'll have in or out. Big week for the Celtics. Sixers tonight. No Embiid, no George. So not quite as big of a game tonight, but we'll still hit you with a mini recap on what happens in that game. Start to look ahead at maybe some other news that's broken off of this as well. And then Tuesday, Celtics Cavs. We'll have a podcast for you right after that one as well. 2 top teams in the East. Thursday's the trade deadline, as well as we'll get to see the AD and Kyrie Mavs at the TD Garden for, I don't even know if you can call it an NBA Finals rematch anymore. I mean, there's just like not even a chance with Luka. Like it's just a different team now. So we'll have a reaction to that Friday morning. Coffee and C's. We will react to all the trade deadline news that happens, as well as talk about Celtics, Mavericks, and then Saturday at Madison Square Garden, Celtics, Knicks, working on having a preview podcast for that as well. So an absolutely loaded week for us here. It's super exciting. This is going to be a jam-packed week leading up to the trade deadline. Then we got 1 more week before the All-Star break. So a lot of moving pieces here, Greg. It's going to be fun. This was 35 minutes of a really fun conversation that I did not expect to have an hour ago while I was sleeping. So thanks for doing this, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is fun. We'll have more in about 12 hours. So we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.